She bought an abandoned ranch for $1 and uncovered a secret the government tried to bury forever. The wind moved slowly across the desert plains, carrying dust that shimmered under the twin suns of the frontier world. The town of Red Hollow stood quiet at the edge of civilization, a place where old dreams faded and forgotten people came to disappear. Most buildings were worn down by time, their wooden walls cracked and sun-bleached. Only the auction house showed signs of life that morning. Inside, a small group gathered around a rusted metal podium. Ranchers, traders, and a few curious travelers waited for the next property listing. Most came only to watch. Everyone already knew which property would be announced: the abandoned Walker Ranch. The auctioneer cleared his throat. Next item, 1,000 acres outside the East Canyon, old structures, damaged irrigation, non-operational systems. Starting price, 1 credit. A few people laughed quietly. Still trying to sell that cursed place? Someone muttered. No one wants it, another said. Government sealed it years ago. The auctioneer shrugged. Rules say we must list it again. The room fell silent when the door opened. A woman stepped inside, her boots dusty from travel. She wore a simple jacket and carried no visible wealth, but her eyes were focused and determined. She moved toward the front without hesitation. Her name was Elena Reyes. She had arrived in Red Hollow only an hour earlier, but rumors already spread. Outsiders rarely came here unless they had nowhere else to go. The auctioneer looked surprised. You here to bid? Elena nodded once. Yes, he hesitated. You understand the condition of the property? I do. Someone behind her laughed. You don't. Nobody understands that place. Elena ignored the voice. 1 credit, she said calmly. The auctioneer blinked. No competing bids. Silence filled the room. A hammer struck the podium. Sold. The crowd murmured as Elena signed the transfer papers. Some shook their heads. Others looked almost relieved that someone else had taken the burden. Near the back of the room stood a tall cowboy leaning against the wall. His hat shadowed his face, but his eyes watched carefully. His name was Cole Mercer, known in town for working alone and asking few questions. He noticed something others missed: a small surveillance drone hovering far outside the window, barely visible against the sky, and it was pointed toward Elena. The ride to the ranch took nearly an hour across open desert. Elena drove a worn transport vehicle loaded with tools and supplies. She said little, focusing on the horizon where jagged cliffs rose like broken teeth. She had studied maps for months, tracing every record she could find. The ranch once belonged to her father. Years ago, he had sent her a final message before disappearing. Protect the land, he had said. At the time, she did not understand what he meant. Now she hoped to find answers. The ranch appeared slowly as she crossed a ridge, wide fields covered in dry grass, broken fences leaning in the wind, and a large house standing alone under the burning sky. It looked abandoned for decades. She parked near the porch and stepped out. The air felt heavy, almost charged, like a storm waiting to begin. Elena walked slowly, examining everything. Solar panels covered in dust, wind turbines frozen in place, old machinery half buried by sand. Someone had shut everything down intentionally. She pushed open the front door. It creaked loudly, echoing through empty rooms. Inside, the house was cleaner than expected. Dust lay across surfaces, but nothing felt destroyed. It was as if someone had left in a hurry and never returned. Elena found old photographs on the wall, her father standing beside horses, smiling beside neighbors long gone. She touched one frame gently. I'm here, she whispered. A faint sound interrupted her thoughts. A low hum. At first she thought it was the wind, but it came from beneath her feet. She knelt, pressing her hand against the floor. The vibration was subtle but real. Something below the ranch was still active. Evening came quickly on the frontier world. Shadows stretched long across the land and the temperature dropped sharply. Elena worked outside, trying to restore power to a small generator. As she connected wires, she felt watched. She turned suddenly. A figure stood near the fence line, the cowboy from the auction. He approached slowly, hands visible. Name's Cole, he said. Thought I'd check if you survived your first day. Elena wiped her hands. I'm fine. Most people aren't out here. He looked toward the house. You know why that ranch sold for 1 credit? I heard stories, she said calmly. I don't believe in curses. Cole nodded slightly. Good, because it isn't cursed, just complicated. What happened here? He hesitated before answering. Government shut it down years ago, said it was unsafe. People stopped coming after that. Unsafe how? Cole studied her face as if deciding how much to say. Strange lights, equipment failures, folks disappearing, that kind of thing. Alina felt a chill but stayed steady. Did my father disappear here? Cole's expression changed. You're his daughter? Yes. He removed his hat briefly, a sign of respect. He was a good man. What happened to him? Cole shook his head slowly. Nobody knows. One day he was here, next day the government sealed the land. Alina looked toward the ground again. The hum seemed stronger now that she noticed it. There's something underground, she said. Cole's eyes narrowed. You felt it too. You knew. I suspected. He stepped closer to the porch. Listen carefully. Some secrets are buried for a reason. And some are buried to hide the truth, Alina replied. Cole watched her silently, realizing she would not leave. Night fell, bringing a sky filled with distant stars. Alina powered a small scanner she brought from the city. The signal beneath the ranch appeared clearly now, a repeating pattern not natural. Coordinates. A locked metal hatch sat behind the house, half covered by sand. Alina brushed it clean, revealing old security markings. Cole stood nearby, arms crossed. You sure about this? No, she admitted, but I have to know. She entered a code sequence based on her father's birthday. For a moment nothing happened, then the hatch clicked. Slowly it opened. A soft blue light rose from below, illuminating a staircase descending into darkness. Alina looked at Cole. Coming? He sighed quietly, then nodded. Guess I am. Together they stepped down. At the bottom they found a hidden facility, sleek metal walls, advanced screens, and machines far beyond anything used on ordinary ranches. Dust covered everything, but power flowed faintly through the systems. Alina approached a console. When she touched it, the screen flickered alive, displaying unknown symbols and data streams. This isn't farming equipment, she whispered. Cole shook his head. No, it is. A deep tone echoed through the room as another system activated automatically, projecting a faint holographic map into the air. Alina stared at it, heart racing. Whatever her father had protected, it was far bigger than a simple ranch. And somewhere far above, hidden among the stars, a silent satellite changed direction, locking onto the signal that had just awakened again. The underground room glowed with soft blue light. Dust floated slowly through the air as old machines came back to life after years of silence. Alina stood still, watching the holographic map spinning above the console. Lines of light moved across it like living rivers. Cole walked carefully around the room, his boots echoing against the metal floor. He had seen many strange things on frontier worlds, but nothing like this. This wasn't just hidden, he said quietly. This was erased. Alina nodded. My father knew about it, he must have. She moved closer to the console. Symbols appeared that she did not fully understand, but the system seemed to recognize her presence. Screens flickered and opened one by one, revealing old recordings and data logs. A recording activated suddenly. The image of a man appeared, older, tired, but kind. Alina's breath caught in her chest. It was her father. The recording showed him standing inside the same room years earlier. If anyone is seeing this, he said slowly, then the system has reactivated. That means the ranch is no longer sleeping. Alina reached toward the image as if she could touch him. Cole looked away respectfully. Her father continued, This place was never just a ranch. It was chosen because of what lies beneath the ground. The government called it a research site, but they never understood what they found. The recording ended suddenly. Alina wiped her eyes. He was protecting something. Or someone, Cole said. They searched deeper into the facility. Old tools rested on tables and sealed containers lined the walls. One room held farming equipment modified with advanced technology, machines designed to interact with soil at a molecular level. This explains why the land used to grow so well, Cole said. People said this ranch could survive any drought. Alina looked thoughtful. Maybe it wasn't luck. A sudden sound echoed through the room, a soft pulse like a heartbeat. The crystal device in the center of the chamber began glowing brighter. Alina approached slowly. The object looked like a clear stone, shaped naturally but filled with moving light. What is it? She whispered. Cole shook his head. I don't like it. When Alina reached out, the crystal reacted immediately. Light expanded outward, forming a star map in the air. Lines connected distant points across space. Alina stepped back in shock. The system translated part of the display into readable text. Communication node status, inactive origin, unknown. Cole let out a slow breath. That doesn't sound like normal colony tech. No, Alina said, it doesn't. They returned to the surface hours later, both silent as they processed what they had seen. The desert night felt colder than before. Elena sat on the porch looking at the stars. If this is alien technology, why would the government hide it? Fear, Cole answered simply. Out here, people fear anything they can't control. She thought about that. But why leave it behind? Maybe they couldn't destroy it. The wind moved through the fields, carrying a strange, humming sound. Elena stood suddenly. Do you hear that? Cole nodded slowly. Across the ranch, faint glowing patterns appeared on the ground, lines of light spreading through the dry soil like growing roots. The dead land seemed to breathe. They walked toward the glowing area carefully. The air felt warm, alive. Small plants pushed through the dirt where nothing had grown before. Elena felt wonder and confusion. It's healing the land. Or waking it, Cole said quietly. The next morning, Red Hollow felt different. Government vehicles rolled into town without warning. Dark uniforms stepped out, asking questions about the new ranch owner. People watched nervously from windows. Cole heard about it quickly and returned to the ranch at full speed. Elena, he called as he arrived. You've got visitors coming. She stepped outside, wiping dirt from her hands. Government, he nodded. They're asking about you and about the ranch. Elena took a deep breath. Then we don't have much time. They returned underground to gather more information. Elena searched through files rapidly, looking for anything explaining the technology. One log finally opened. Project EARTHSONG, confidential purpose. Study non-human signal detected beneath planetary crust. Status, terminated by authority order. Reason, potential risk to colonization stability. Elena frowned. Colonization stability? Cole crossed his arms. Sounds like they thought it could change things too much. Another recording activated. Her father appeared again, speaking directly to the camera. They don't understand, he said. This technology isn't dangerous. It's designed to support life, to restore ecosystems. But they fear losing control over frontier worlds if people become too independent. Elena felt anger rise inside her. They shut it down because it helped people? Cole gave a small nod. Wouldn't be the first time. Suddenly alarms flashed across the console. External scan detected. Surveillance active. Cole looked at Elena. They found us. She stared at the crystal. The light pulsed slowly, almost gently, as if waiting. What if we activate it? She asked. That might make things worse, he warned. But what if it's the only way to learn the truth? Elena placed her hand on the crystal again. The room filled with bright light. The star map expanded, showing new pathways stretching far beyond their solar system. Coordinates appeared, linking their world to distant locations. A soft tone echoed, almost like a voice, though no words were spoken. Outside, the ground trembled slightly. Cole looked toward the ceiling. Something's happening. The system displayed a new message, primary node recognized, awaiting full activation. Elena stepped back slowly. It knows we're here. And now, Cole said, the government knows too. Above the ranch, hidden high in orbit, a silent satellite locked onto the signal. Data streamed rapidly back to an unseen command center. The secret buried for years was waking up again. And this time it would not stay hidden. The underground chamber pulsed with light like a living heart. The crystal hovered above its stand, glowing brighter than before. Lines of energy moved through the air, connecting symbols that neither Elena nor Cole fully understood. Elena stood still, watching the star map slowly rotate. The message on the screen remained clear, primary node recognized, awaiting full activation. Outside, the desert wind howled louder as if the planet itself felt the change. Cole moved toward the control console. If the government already tracked this signal, we don't have much time. Elena nodded but didn't move away from the crystal. Something about it felt familiar, almost comforting. It wasn't cold or mechanical like human technology. It felt alive. We need answers before they arrive, she said. She searched through more files, opening hidden folders buried deep within the system. Most were damaged, but one final recording appeared. Her father's face filled the screen again. If you are seeing this, he said, his voice tired but steady, then someone has awakened the node again. That means the time has come. Elena leaned forward. This world wasn't empty when humans arrived, he continued. Long before colonists came, another civilization built systems across the frontier. They were not weapons. They were guardians, tools meant to heal damaged planets and protect life. The image flickered. The government feared it. They believed people would depend on it instead of authority. So they shut the project down, but the node chooses who can activate it. I believe you will understand that better than they ever did. The recording ended. Alina felt a mix of sadness and determination. He stayed here to protect it. Cole crossed his arms. And now it's your choice what happens next. Suddenly, warning lights flashed again. External FORCES approaching. A projection appeared showing vehicles moving toward the ranch, dark transports flying low across the desert. They're coming fast, Cole said. Alina took a deep breath. Then we don't hide anymore. They returned to the surface quickly. The sky looked darker than usual, clouds gathering in strange patterns. The glowing lines in the soil had spread further overnight, forming shapes that looked almost like roots stretching across the land. Small plants pushed through dry earth, green and alive. Cole watched silently. I've lived here 20 years, he said. Never seen life return this fast. Alina looked around the ranch. It's trying to restore the planet. The ground vibrated slightly beneath their feet. A loud engine sound filled the air as government transports approached from the horizon. Cole touched the brim of his hat. You ready for this? She nodded slowly. I didn't come this far to stop now. 3 vehicles landed near the broken fence line. Uniformed agents stepped out, their movements calm but firm. A tall officer walked forward, his expression serious. Alina Reyes, he said. You are ordered to step away from the property. Alina remained still. On what authority? This land is under government control due to classified risk. Cole stepped slightly closer to Alina but said nothing. The officer continued, You activated restricted technology. That action violates colonial security protocols. Alina looked him directly in the eyes. This technology heals the land. Why hide something that helps people? The officer paused before answering. Because not everything that looks helpful is safe. She shook her head. Or maybe you fear losing control. The agents behind him shifted slightly, watching the glowing fields with visible uncertainty. We are here to secure the device, the officer said calmly. You will leave peacefully. Alina felt anger but also clarity. She knew what her father had meant now. The ranch was not just land, it was a responsibility. I won't leave, she said. Silence stretched between them. Cole finally spoke. You heard her. The officer sighed quietly. You misunderstand the danger. He gestured toward the sky. A small drone hovered above, projecting a hologram showing old footage, energy surges, system failures, and chaotic signals. This technology nearly destabilized early colonies, he explained. We shut it down to protect people. Alina studied the footage carefully. Or because you didn't understand how to use it. The officer said nothing. Behind them, the ground suddenly glowed brighter. Energy flowed across the fields like waves. The crystal underground responded to something. Alina felt it calling her again. I need to finish activating it, she said softly. That will not happen, the officer replied. Cole looked toward the glowing land. Maybe it needs to happen. The air filled with tension. Without warning, a deep rumble shook the ranch. Dust lifted from the ground as hidden mechanisms far below began moving. The agents stepped back instinctively. What did you do? One of them shouted. Alina shook her head. Nothing, it's reacting on its own. A beam of soft light rose into the sky from beneath the ranch house, faint but powerful. It did not feel threatening, only ancient and patient. The officer stared upward, clearly shaken. The node is awakening, Alina whispered. The land around them changed rapidly. Dry soil turned darker, filled with moisture. Old irrigation channels repaired themselves as if guided by invisible hands. Cole smiled slightly despite the danger. Looks like your ranch isn't dead anymore. Alina felt hope rising inside her, but also fear of what would happen next. The officer lowered his voice. If this continues, we cannot guarantee safety. She turned toward him. Then help us understand it instead of burying it. For a moment he hesitated, caught between duty and curiosity. But a message arrived through his communicator. His expression hardened again. Orders confirmed, he said. Secure the site. Agents moved forward. Cole stepped in front of Alina. You'll have to go through me. The glowing beam intensified, washing everything in soft light. And far above, hidden deep in space, a distant signal responded, ancient systems waking after centuries of silence. The ranch was no longer just a secret. It had become a beacon. The beam of light rising from the ranch grew stronger, stretching into the sky like a silent tower. The air vibrated gently, and the ground beneath Alina's boots felt warm and alive. Around her, the desert was changing. Green lines spread across the dry fields, turning dust into fertile soil. Small plants pushed through the earth faster than nature should allow. Even the broken wind turbines began to turn slowly as energy flowed through hidden systems beneath the land. Government agents hesitated, unsure whether to move forward or retreat. Cole stood beside Alina, steady and calm. "Looks like the ranch has decided to speak for itself," he said quietly. The commanding officer watched the glowing beam carefully. His expression showed both concern and curiosity. "Alina Reyes," he said, "this situation is now beyond local authority. You must shut it down." She shook her head. "I don't know how to stop it, and I don't think it wants to harm anyone." The officer frowned. "Technology without control is dangerous." "Maybe," she replied softly, "but control without understanding is worse." For a moment no one moved. Then a loud tone echoed from underground, deep and powerful, like a bell ringing across the land. Alina felt it in her chest. "It's calling me," she said. Before anyone could stop her, she turned and ran toward the house. Cole followed immediately. Inside the underground chamber, the crystal hovered higher than before. Light surrounded it like flowing water. Symbols moved through the air, forming patterns that almost looked like language. Alina stepped forward slowly. The moment her hand touched the crystal, the world around her changed. She did not lose consciousness, but she felt as if she stood somewhere else, a wide, open landscape filled with stars. A presence surrounded her, calm and ancient. Images appeared in her mind. She saw another civilization, tall figures working with living technology, building systems designed to heal damaged worlds. They were not conquerors, they were caretakers. The ranch was one of many nodes placed across the galaxy. Each node waited for someone willing to protect life rather than control it. Alina understood suddenly. The system was not reacting to commands but to intention. It responded to people who wished to restore balance. Her father had known this. He had stayed to protect the node until someone else could continue his work. "I understand," she whispered. The crystal pulsed gently in response. Above ground, the agents waited nervously. The beam of light brightened further, then softened into a wide glow that spread across the sky like sunrise. The officer spoke into his communicator urgently. "Energy levels stabilizing, no signs of aggression." The ground stopped shaking. Moments later, Alina and Cole emerged from the house. Alina's expression was calm but strong. "What happened?" Cole asked quietly. "It's not a weapon," she said. "It's a restoration system. It repairs ecosystems and supports life. It was never meant to be controlled by force." The officer studied her carefully. "And how do you know it's safe?" She looked across the land. "Because it responds to intention. It chooses cooperation." Almost as if to prove her words, the beam faded into soft light, spreading across the horizon instead of shooting into the sky. The glowing lines in the soil slowed, settling into a steady rhythm. The ranch looked alive. Green fields stretched where only dry dust existed before. Water flowed gently through old channels, clear and fresh. Even the air felt cleaner. The agents lowered their weapons slowly, unsure how to react. The officer stepped closer to Alina. "Our orders were to secure dangerous technology, but this—" He paused, searching for words. "This doesn't look dangerous." "It isn't," she said, "but hiding it is." Cole smiled faintly. "People in town should see this." News traveled fast across Red Hollow. Within hours, townspeople arrived at the ranch, stopping at the fence line in disbelief. Farmers touched the soil, amazed at how rich it felt. Children ran through fields that had been dead for years. Old ranchers removed their hats in quiet respect. The officer watched everything carefully. Finally, he turned back toward Alina. "If this system truly helps the planet," he said slowly, "then maybe it deserves a chance." She nodded. "Let people learn from it, don't bury it again." He hesitated before giving a small nod. "I will report what I have seen." It was not a promise, but it was enough. Days passed, and the ranch became a place of hope. Scientists arrived to study the technology openly instead of secretly. Farmers learned how to work with the restored soil. Water sources returned slowly across the region. Alina stood on the porch one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky with gold and red. Cole joined her, leaning against the railing. "Quite a change from the abandoned ranch you bought for one credit," he said. She smiled softly. "Best investment I ever made." "You planning to stay?" She looked across the land, the fields, the people working together, the quiet hum of the hidden node beneath her feet. "Yes," she said, "this place needs someone to protect it." Cole nodded. Good. Because frontier worlds always need someone stubborn enough to stand their ground. They shared a quiet laugh. The wind moved gently across the fields, carrying the scent of fresh soil and growing life. High above, beyond the clouds, the signal from the node continued traveling through space, not as a warning but as an invitation. Somewhere far away, ancient systems responded. Elena did not know who or what might come one day, but she was no longer afraid. The ranch that no one wanted had become a symbol of renewal, proof that even forgotten places could change the future when someone brave enough chose to believe in them. And as the stars appeared one by one, the land beneath her feet felt alive, ready for whatever came next.